Hello, this is Xbox Ahoy, and this is the 18th episode of my Black Ops Weapon Guide. Get some! In this episode we're covering the third LMG, the M60. It's a fully automatic weapon, unlocked at level 21. Originating from the United States, the M60 has served with every branch of the US military since its introduction in 1957. The M60's roots can be traced in part to the German machine guns of World War II, such as the MG42 and FG42, and the earlier American M1919A6 machine gun and Browning automatic rifle. The M60 saw its first major usage in the Vietnam War after its adoption, where it was employed as both a squad automatic weapon and as a medium machine gun, mounted on patrol boats, APCs and helicopters. Informally known as the Pig, presumably for its hefty weight and insatiable appetite for ammunition, the M60 remains in use today, although has been replaced in most roles by the M240. As a general-purpose machine gun, the M60 fires the full-sized 7.62 by 51mm NATO cartridge from a disintegrating belt of linked ammunition. Belt length is 100 rounds in game, or a whopping 200 when paired with the extended mags attachment. The M60 deals the most damage per shot of all the light machine guns, although it suffers from a damage drop-off to a long-range damage level on par with the others in its class. At close range you'll kill in just 2 shots anywhere to the body, making this a deadly weapon of defense. You pay for this high damage with a lethargic rate of fire, the slowest of any automatic weapon in the game, tied only with the full auto's CZ75. 535 rounds per minute does at least do much to conserve your ammunition under continuous fire, allowing sustained defense without the need to shoot in bursts. Despite the low fire rate, recoil is still pretty heavy. You'll see substantial horizontal and upward spread when employed full auto. This can be mitigated by firing in single shots at range, but the HK21 would probably be the superior choice for long-range engagements. As usual for an LMG, the time it takes to aim down sights is slow, at 350 milliseconds. Reload is almost comically slow, at nearly 10 seconds. Thankfully you don't need to do it often, but it's wise to find a safe spot to perform the procedure when it's needed. The full complement of optics are at your disposal with the M60, but they're less useful than on most other weapons, as the M60 isn't really a weapon of precision. The close range options, the reflex and red dot sight, are very usable, and do provide some assistance as far as taming the recoil is concerned. Their larger view around the reticle can make it easier to track a moving enemy, better permitting the resting of the weapon's kick onto target. However, from a functional standpoint, they offer no real benefit over the iron sights. The long range options increase recoil substantially, making the weapon less controllable overall and decreasing your effectiveness. The M60's strengths lie within its 2-hit kill range, so the addition of the ACOG scope isn't helpful. It is, however, huge, especially apparent when sprinting, so if you're a fan of oversized scopes on uncontrollable weapons, the ACOG is superb. Otherwise, I'd give it a miss. The infrared scope is similarly useless, making it harder to hit your target both at close range and at a distance. It will highlight enemies bright white when aiming, although staying on target with automatic fire is a challenging affair. If 100 rounds is insufficient for your needs, then the extended mags, or big ammo attachment, is for you. 200 rounds in a single belt completely removes the need to reload with the standard ammunition loadout, and will give you nearly half a minute of sustained fire. Although the lack of a reload is a nice benefit, if you can bear a pause every 100 rounds, the next attachment is arguably the most useful. The grip speeds recoil recovery, assisting both automatic fire at close to middle range and placing accurate single shots at a distance. This effectively increases the rate at which you can fire accurately, making the weapon marginally more deadly when on target. You'll do well to remain mindful of your ammunition count, of course, as you will need to reload halfway through your supply, and you'll be left very vulnerable while doing so. Despite the slow reload, the grip is still the most useful attachment overall, and for this reason it's the attachment I recommend. Extended mags is a useful convenience in its avoided reload, so it could be paired with the grip via Warlord. but in practice I found it better to employ a single attachment with an altogether more useful second perk. The M60 is a weapon with a very distinctive firing signature. Nothing else sounds like it, and the steady chug of this weapon is clearly audible across the map. This will attract much in the way of attention from your enemies, so our M60 class is focused on resistance and survivability. Explosives are sometimes the best way to dislodge a stubborn defender, but with our first perk choice, grenades and rockets will be the least of your worries. Flak Jacket is a great choice for an LMG class, allowing you to take up a position in cover without too much fear of your enemy's grenades. High damage weapons with a generous magazine capacity are the perfect candidates for shooting enemies through thin cover. And while the LMGs have already favourable penetration characteristics, hardened will increase them even further. Even in cases where you aren't explicitly shooting through walls, you'll still benefit in cases where the enemy is partially obscured by cover, often resulting in kills where your foe may have otherwise escaped. The pro benefit is also very useful. Although not a weapon of precision, it's entirely possible that the flinch as a result of taking enemy fire could cause you to miss a vital shot, something which may then result in a death. To round out our Juggernaut class, we've a third resistive perk to add to our loadout. Tactical Mask Pro renders you nearly invulnerable to flashbangs, stuns and Nova gas, meaning that neither explosive nor tactical grenades will be effective against you. This triad of perks gives you the greatest resistance to typical tactics used to dislodge defenders, making the sustained firepower of the M60 all the more deadly. For your secondary, I normally find a launcher to be a fine pairing with the LMGs, as ammunition isn't a problem, and the larger magazines means you seldom get caught short during a reload. The Strela 3 would give you a solid defense against air support, but if crowd control is your thing, you could employ an anti-personnel launcher. Without Scavenger, the RPG is probably best employed in this role, giving you 2 unguided rockets. Although they can be used against air support, the lack of lock-on means you're better off using them to clear points or to flush out enemies from behind cover. For your grenades, it's down to your preference. I was using frags and flashbangs, although they weren't a fundamental part of any strategy, so you can alter to your preference. For your equipment, in a defensive role you're spoilt for choice, but in my case I was using the jammer. And placed in a good position with coverage of a high traffic area, you can better conceal your exact location and lessen the chance of being flanked or outgunned at close range. The Claymore or a motion sensor would also be a viable choice here. The M60 is best used from cover against groups of enemies on the move, so anticipating spawn points and the enemy's likely movement from there is a skill essential for positioning yourself correctly. Use of spy planes and blackbirds will give you an insight of where the enemy is spawning. Take note of where new dots on the radar appear, then position yourself along the enemy's likely path. When spawning, enemies will likely head directly towards the objective. In the case of Team Deathmatch, this will be the location they suspect your team is in, and their route will tend to be via the centre of the map. With a little map knowledge and anticipation of the spawns, you'll be able to work out their most likely route, and assuming you can get into a decent firing position in time, you'll be able to lie in wait. The M60 is the weapon that best fulfills the traditional LMG role, with its capacity far, far ahead of any of its peers. Its high close-range damage means that you aren't necessarily at a disadvantage when nearer your enemy either, as just 2 bullets to kill will cut them down mercilessly. Unfortunately, the sluggish rate of fire means your shots need to be on target to be effective, and given the heavy recoil, it can be difficult to ensure your shots connect. The slow aim time and movement speed also limit the M60's utility, requiring a degree of forethought and planning to use effectively, unlike the more reactive SMGs or assault rifles. Still, the M60 has unparalleled capacity and damage, and there's no weapon quite as devastating in a defensive role. When positioned correctly, the pig might just save your bacon. Thanks for watching. This has been Xbox Ahoy. Join me next time when I'll be covering the 3rd sniper and sole bolt-action rifle, the L96. Until then, Farewell.